It has been a lot of work, but my PVE Corvette for 3.0, the Cube Comber, is finally done, and today I'm going to give you the tour. Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Elite Dangerous with Down to Earth Astronomy. For a very long time, a lot of people have requested an update to my Corvette build, and that's what we're going to do today. First, we're going to go over the full loadout, and I should say there is a link in the description in the video where you can see the loadout. It is a little confusing if you don't get the meta behind it, the idea behind it, because it is a little different because a lot of the modules will synergize with each other, which is something I always try to do in my builds. So let's get started, and I want to start with the defense of the ship because that is by far the most complicated part of the ship, because there's a lot of things that plays into the way the ship is defending itself, even to the selection of special effects of the weapons. So I'm gonna jump around in the different sections here. So if you want the full overview, again, use the link in the description for that. We're going to start looking at our shield generator. I've gone with a bi-weave. That's because the idea behind this ship is that it's something that you can use for an extended period of time in a high extraction resource extraction site, or hazardous resource extraction site. That's those type of areas. It can also work in conflict zones as well. And the idea is that if you have a large hit point pool, like you would with a prismatic shield, you would, over time, because of the low recharge rate of the shield, your shield would be worn down, and you would have to either give the shield some time to regenerate or use shield cell banks, which you would run out of eventually. You can see I do fit shield cell banks, and I'll come back to what situations these are used for, because these are not, you fire them off at any time. So, in order to give you a ship that is as effective as it possibly can in a PvE situation, what you want is you don't want a massive shield hit point pool. You want enough hit points to just survive a 1 or 2 engagements. So you want enough to be able to take down a wing of 3 ships, even though they're fairly large and fairly difficult. And that's it. Now, other than that, we want as few hit points as possible. That might be counterintuitive, because why would we want as few hit points as possible? Well, we want our recharge to be as effective as possible. Imagine this case. If we had a huge amount of hit points, our recharge is going to be the same. We're going to recharge the same number of hit points every second. So if we have a huge pool, it would take us longer to recharge our shield fully. Whereas if we have a small pool, it would take shorter. So if we focus our shield tanking around resistance rather than hit points, you gain more bang for the buck, if you get my meaning. I mean, 5 hit points per second, which is about what I'm getting in recharge on this build here. 5 hit points per second will give you a lot more if you have high resistance than if you have low resistance, because those hit points is going to count for more. So, shield generator is bi-weave. We want that fast recharge. I've gone with thermal resistance because we're going to start initially here to try and balance out our resistances. And then, of course, fast charge. We want that fast shield recharge so we can get those hit points back quickly. And I think this will charge from 50% shield to full in just over 3 minutes, 3.5 minutes. So that's very, very quickly. That's just passive recharge. So as you can see, the time you will spend between fights will be enough to recharge most of your shield. So that's the shield. Let's then move on to the shield cell banks. No, so not shield cell banks. Shield boosters, which is not under hard points, which is under utility that we have here. I run 7 0A shield boosters. I have 2 of them as heavy duty, and they have super capacitor. And I think the next one here is also heavy duty. Yes, heavy duty. Also, I think this one is then kinetic, of all things. This is because when we have the thermal, we're going to lose a little bit of kinetic, so to compensate for that, we put a single kinetic resistance in here, and also with super capacitor. And the rest of these, so there should be those 3, so there should be 4 left. These are all resistance augmented, and also with super capacitor. This combination with 2 heavy duty, 1 kinetic, and 4 resistance augmented on a thermal resistant shield booster or shield generator will give you a shield. We find it here for you so you can see the stats. There we go. you can see we have just over 2,000 hit points, which is, by many of you standard would say, that's not enough. But look at the resistance. All the resistance is very, very close, or above 60% resistance. That means that those 2 hit points will count for so much more than if you had a ship with lower resistance, because they're going to block pretty much everything that's coming. That I know there are some absolute damage that's done by plasma accelerators. So yes, if you come across a big ship with plasma accelerators, you need to be careful. You need to move more pips into your shields, because that is a issue that you get when you don't have as much hit points. But of course, there's a trade-off when it comes to every single build. And that is the trade-off of this build, that is that you are not that strong against large plasma accelerators. So now we got the basic going here. We got our resistance, we got our hit points. But we have low hit points, so in some situations you will come out and get us into issues where you're going to begin to run out of hit points. And that is of course where the shield cell banks come in. These are only for emergencies. We don't fire these off when we're just in normal combat. We shouldn't need these. These are not actually necessary. I have 2 of them so we can very quickly regenerate our shield. And again, because we have a low amount of hit points, and these give a static amount of hit points returned, that means we're going to get a bigger percentage of our shield back per charge. And these 2, firing off these 2 will almost fully recharge your shield, I believe. I can't remember how much they actually, we can calculate it here. But they will regenerate plenty of your shield by firing these 2 off. These have been modified with specialized shield cells, which gives us more reinforcements, and it reduces, most importantly, our thermal load. This will be a recurring theme here. Thermal load, thermal load, thermal load. That's the most important part here. And then we're going with boss shell. Why are we going with boss shell? Because boss shell, that is going to increase our shield reinforcements, I believe, also reducing, I can't remember now. At least the important part here is that the time, the spin-up time here, is increased. And you see that's a negative thing. Why is that a good thing? The reason why it's a good thing that we have a longer spin-up time is that the thermal load from the shield cell bank is a static amount. I mean, the same amount of heat is generated. But because we have a longer spin-up time, that means the heat is building up slower. So we have an extra second. We're going from 5 to 6 seconds to manage that amount of heat. So instead of the heat building up very quickly, we build it up a little bit slower, and the boss shield also give us, I believe it is more shield reinforcements that we get, so we get more, we gain more per second when it actually fires off. I believe that is the oversized shell that increases the shell strength at the cost of increased spin-up time. Yeah, exactly. So we gain more shield hit points, and we also gain the benefit of having them spin up for longer, so the heat don't build up as long. It means we'll have to fire them off a little bit earlier, but then again, it's still 1 second. And the reason why all this talk about thermal all the time is because if we head back into our utilities, you will see that I do not fit any heat sinks. I fit a kill wound scanner with fast scan. This reduces our scan time to 2 seconds. We'll take this out later, and you can see how effective that is. I know it reduces your range, but that 2 second scan time is amazing. Trust me. You really want that. It makes it so much more enjoyable. You can switch this out if you want. I really, really like fast scan when it comes to a kill wound scanner. But you can see we do not have any heat sinks on. So what do? If we fire off 2 shield cell banks, we are going to be heating up, and we're going to be heating up very quickly. Now, there is 2 things on the ship that helps us prevent this and to help us mitigate some of this. And for this, we have to head into the hard points. I'll come back and I'll go over the hard points in more detail later. But I have a large beam laser and 2 medium beam lasers. These have all been engineered with long range. Why long range? Because default, the damage fall off on lasers is 500 meters, 600 meters actually. Okay, that means if you shoot at anything further up than 600 meters, you are beginning to lose damage from your lasers, and it can be quite significant. I believe when you're out at 2 times your damage fall off, I think it's somewhere like 75% that you actually lose for 25% of your damage. I can't remember the exact figures and the exact ranges, but it's something like that. So as you can see, getting that extra fall off and extra range means we can hit at longer range. It's also going to mean that if we're going to shoot at smaller targets, because all the other weapons are multi-cannons, they're going to have a harder time hitting small targets at long range because they maneuver so fast. In that case, we can just switch over to our lasers and then blast them off at long range. So there's really no escaping. If you're within 6 kilometers of this ship, you will be shot at and you will take damage. But the way we manage our heat is thermal vent. Thermal vent means that whenever you are actually hitting something with your lasers, and these are gimbaled, you will ventilate your heat through the lasers. You will take the heat and put that into the laser and will shut out as part of the laser beam. They are extremely effective, and I'll show you. When I'm firing these off, all these 3 lasers at the same time, hitting a target, I can get the shields, my heat levels to 0, and mechanic people begin to freeze over. They are that effective, and they can actually mitigate the heat generated from a shield cell bank. That means if we fire off a shield cell bank, we switch over to our lasers, we find something to shoot at, doesn't matter what it is, as long as it's hostile, we just keep those lasers firing, doesn't matter if they're in hull, or if it's not a preferred target, we just need to shoot at anything when our shields are being recharged by the shield cell banks, because we just need to vent that heat away. And then it's important that as soon as you can't hit anything, that you then stop shooting, because when you're not hitting something, you will generate additional heat, and a lot of it, so you will overheat extremely quickly. So that's how we're going to get rid of our heat. We're going to use our beam lasers. They're going to serve a multi-purpose. They're both going to be our main thermal damage that we're going to use to take down shields, and they're going to be our heat control to control the heat when we fire off our shield cell banks. That's the first line of defense here, but we do have another one. In case we get in a situation where we have to fire off a shield cell bank, it's a small fast ship, we cannot get our lasers on it, and we are forced to go up and overheat the ship, and potentially take some module damage. In that case, we do have a small field maintenance unit, so you have the opportunity to stop, repair the damage that you have taken to your modules, and then continue fighting. So let's that was the defense. As you can see, it's a little complicated system, and it takes some learning to get used to using this build. But let's go ahead and let's look at the core internals. Since I am relying 100% on my shields, I have not done a lot for armor. I do have a little bit in terms of armor, just in case the shields actually go down, if everything goes wrong. I mean, if you're taking armor damage, something has already gone horribly wrong. And that's why you will see not a lot of focus around the armor. So I kept the lightweight alloy in the ship, and I've gone with heavy duty. Why heavy duty? Because heavy duty increases the weight of the armor. The lightweight alloy has no weight, it is massless, so you gain no drawbacks and only benefits. So that's why heavy duty, and I've gone with layered plating, which gives a good all-round resistance, I think. And again, just to protect us against that explosive damage. On the power plant, if we get over here, again, 8A power plant, nothing here, and again, overcharged grade 5 gives us enough, as you can see, just barely. We have power to run our weapons. And then again, thermal spread. Again, keep our heat levels low. Keeping thermal spread on the power plant means that we're going to reduce our overall heat level. So the base heat level of the ship will be reduced, giving us a larger buffer size to play with when we're trying to mitigate that heat generated by the shield cell bank. So again, this is because of our way we tank this ship. On the thrusters, there's nothing too special here. 7A thrusters, dirty drive, and drag drives. I think that's by far the best option. On the frameshift drive, again, not a lot of surprises here. Increased range and mass management. We just want a little bit of jump range out of this, and we actually get a decent amount. We can see here we can actually push 19 light years on this thing, which is not bad in a Corvette fully fitted. Life support, I think I've just gone lightweight. Yeah, I mean, there's not a lot of good upgrades for the life support, so I've just gone lightweight to get that little bit extra maneuverability. If we move on to the power distributor, this is where we have modifications. I've gone with charge enhanced and superconductive, conductors so that we get that extremely fast recharge. You will see we can perma boost this thing, meaning that the capacitor will be full before we can boost again. So we can just keep boosting. And the weapon recharge is so quick that you'll see it when we take it out. It is extremely quick. It's almost silly to look at. But again, I really like this combination. Again, having lots of recharge and low capacitor. Kind of the same mentality as we have with the shields here. On the sensors, I've gone with something new I haven't tried before, which is lightweight. I've always used long range, but it makes the sensors extremely heavy. And it's gonna hurt our jump range, it's gonna hurt our maneuverability, which is the main reason why I've gone with lightweight. Get that 80% reduction. And yes, it does reduce our angle slightly. Actually by 25%, it's actually quite a bit, but I don't see it as a problem. It would be nice to have that longer range, but then again, I can make do with the sensors as they are, and having that a little bit extra maneuverability, rather have that than the long range. Fuel tank, of course, nothing there. Okay, let's run over the rest of the optional internals, and then we'll go and talk about the weapons at the end. We've already talked about the bi-weave shield generators and the shield cell banks. I carry a fighter hanger for two reasons. The fighters you select, it's your own choice. Pick your personal favorites. The reason why I carry a fighter hanger is, one, so I can play multi-crew in it if I ever want to do that. And secondly, if I get up against a high-skilled, very small maneuverable ship, let's say an Elite Eagle or something, it can sometimes be a little difficult keeping tracking on the ship in this. And if it gets particularly annoying, I might just take out a fighter and then kill the ship in that instead. You can just leave the ship, put all pips to shields, and then leave the ship floating. If it's a small ship, it's not going to do a lot of damage to you anyway, so go out in a fighter and take care of that small annoying ship. Then a fuel scoop, unengineered. As you say, the fighter hanger is also unengineered. Fuel scoop, unengineered, I think you can only get shielded on it, which just draw more power, and again, we're not planning on the shields going down, so I've just gone unengineered fuel scoop, just nice to have when you're moving the ship around. A little bit of cargo, because you don't need two cargo racks, you can change that out if you want. I would recommend at least one, because we have a field maintenance unit, we have a collector limpet controller, because in the latest update, of course, you would often pick up pretty much everything you can. So what I would do is I would bring some limpets, and when I've killed a ship, I would send out limpets to collect all the engineering materials that comes out of it, because the new material store, the way we store materials now, there's no reason not to. Just have the limpets collect what they can. If they don't get everything, well, it doesn't really matter. It depends if you're doing it for the credit, just move on and let them pick up what they can. And otherwise, well, you can always stop and let them collect. Keep in mind that as soon as you engage the next ship, they will most likely be killed by point defense. So either bring a lot or synthesize them. I often just synthesize them, but having that extra cargo so you can bring those 64 limpets means you can at least go for a while before you have to begin synthesizing limpets. An advanced discovery scanner. If you're using the ship to try and find a good area, it's nice to be able to scan the system to see what kind of ring planets are available. And then our only hull defense is in the military compartments, which is 5D, hull reinforcements. Oh, I should say the collector limpet, sorry, I forgot that, is lightweight as well. Again, it's 1.2 tons. There was nothing else, so I just decided, oh, what the hell, let's go lightweight. It doesn't hurt our build. And for the hull reinforcements, I've got heavy duty, kind of like, okay, so we gain a little bit mass here. We're trying to lose that on the other ones, but yeah, I don't know. You can change that out if you want something else and really want to go more lightweight. But I've just got heavy duty layered plating. But yeah, again, that's really up to you what kind of upgrades you want to go for on the ships here. And then finally, we come to the weapons. In the huge compartments, we have multi-cannons, gimbaled multi-cannons, overcharged, and autoloader. I was surprised how effective autoloader is. The fact that you never have to reload is so nice. You hardly ever run out of ammo when you do this. I mean, you would run out of ammo, but they will slowly refill. You don't have to reload between magazines, overcharged, of course, for that extra damage. And it is the same on the other one. Oops, not transfer. You can see here it's exactly the same, overcharged and autoloader. You might say, oh, what about corrosive? You definitely want corrosive, right? And indeed you do. This is why I use these 2 small hardpoints. The small hardpoints, they're not for damage. I don't care about the damage in the small hardpoints. They are only here for status effects. So if we go to modifications of the first one, you can see high capacity magazine with corrosive shield. Corrosive shield normally reduces the ammo capacity, so to make sure we don't run out, I got high capacity magazine. Because I previously had some problems that the corrosive multi-cannon would run out of ammo before, and I would have to, of course, synthesize more, and it's a little annoying. And since we don't really care about the damage anyway, I've gone with high capacity magazine. You can change this out, but I would really, really recommend the corrosive shell because it's a status effect that reduces the enemy armor by 25% flat. It doesn't matter if it's a small, medium, or huge or large weapon. It doesn't matter. It's a status effect. It just reduces the enemy armor by 25%. Outright. Thumbs up. Very nice. Especially because if we go back here and have a look. No, actually here. And have a look. We can see here our armor piercing is only 68. And some ships will be... the Anaconda, for instance, will... I think that's 60... Is it 70 something? Is it 60 something? I can't remember. But at least we're going to be very close to... or at least lower than some ships' armor. So in that case, we really want those multi-cannons to reduce the armor so we have an easier time penetrating the armor and getting full damage from the main cannons. On the second small multi-cannon, we have emissive munition, and again high capacity. There's really no reason to go high capacity on this one. I just choose to because, well, then they have the same amount of ammo. It's nice. No apparent reason, just because I think, well, yeah, you can change that if you want. But I've gone with emissive munition. You can change that as well. It increases their signature, so we can target them for a longer range. They have a harder time running away from us if they try to do that. I don't think it does anything in terms of tracking of gimbal weapons. I'm not actually 100% sure on that. I had a really hard time finding any solid description of what the signature actually does in terms of tracking for weapons and stuff like that. I know that it should allow you to target the ship earlier, but that is about it. You can again change this out. This is really optional. Do with it whatever you want. So I believe that is all of our weapons and modules that we've been through. So let's take this ship out for a spin and let's see how this thing performs in some combat. So here we had a build. I just really first want to show you that recharge I talked about. You can see if we just put 3 pips to engines, we are easily able to permanently boost. See, now our capacitor is fully charged again. And there comes the next boost. So, and I think with just 2 pips, you can still boost for 4 or 3 times, maybe even 5 sometimes. I'm not really sure. And the same here with the weapons. Let's try to remove some pips away from weapons, and let's just get rid of some of the weapon power here, so you can see how quickly that capacitor actually recharges. It does drain quickly when you don't have pips, but as soon as you put pips over, it really recharges fast because that small capacitor size. But let's find something to shoot at, and we have Bob here in an Anaconda. Let's see if he is in fact wounded. There we have him, Dangerous Bob in the Anaconda, who is wounded. And look at this kill wound scanner here. Scanning, scanning, scanning. Done. It's that quick. It's really, really insane. So let's let rip on Bob, and let's see how this thing performs. You can see here initially, look at our heat level. We're already at 1% heat, and it should be going down to 0% at some point, especially if we throttle back a little bit. And now you can hear the canopy beginning to freeze over. So again, as you can see, heat thermal vent is extremely effective, and his shield is almost down. He's just sitting here in front of us, and we're just using the lasers right now. Oh, let's get all the lasers firing on him. Come on, we can get that last bit of the shield down. There we go. Now we can switch over to the multi-cannons. Oh, small multi-cannons are reloading. There we go. So now we got the corrosive effect. Look at his armor. Look at how that armor is just being stripped away, and he is gone. And that's a dangerous Anaconda right there. I think we had some help from some of the NPCs. But let's see, we have a deadly guy here. Let's see, let's try him as well. Just for fun. Deadly dropship. And is he wounded? Scan him. Indeed, he is wounded, so let's open up on this guy. And his shields is almost down. That his shields. Switching over to multi-cannons. Oh. Now we can put some pips over to our engines. Now that we're beginning to fly in, circles around us. There we go. Back to the standard combat loadout. And let rip with the multi-cannons again. And again, you can see even for a heavily armored ship, like the dropship here, we are able to do a very, very healthy amount of damage to him. And with those autoloaders on the huge cannons, we are not going to run out anytime soon. We just keep the fire going. And he is now gone. So as you can see, a very, very effective build. And I'm just going to find something that can maybe deal a little bit more damage, so we can show you how we can mitigate that heat that I talked so much about. Oh, here we go. I just found a elite Federal assault ship. Let's see if we can get him to do a little damage. We're just going to quickly engage him, and I'm going to move all my pips away from my shield, so I'm going to purposely let him take down my shields here. And now the damage is beginning. So let's give him some time to take down our shields. Okay, so this guy has been shooting at us for a while now, and our shields are beginning to get a little low, and so it would be a good time now to get a shield cell bank off. So what we're going to do is we're going to make sure we have our lasers ready. And then keep a close eye on the heat levels. We're going to fire up the shield cell bank. Heat levels begin to rise. And lasers begin. And look at that. We're keeping the heat levels in check. Even though he fires off a chaff. Because we're so close, we can easily keep the heat levels in check. Heat levels go down. Way, way down. We can fire off another shield cell bank. And we are easily able to keep our heat levels in check. And there, now it fires off. As the shields go down, perfect timing. So now we can open up with the multi-cannons and finish this guy off. And you can see those two shield cell banks fired off by the two modules that we have was easily enough to almost completely fill my my shield back up. So if you use those lasers as your heat sinks, then you don't really have to carry heat sinks at all. It's basically infinite heat sinks. So as we kill this last guy, let me know in the comment section down below what you think of the build, and if there's anything you would change. And also, if you liked the video, remember to give it a like and subscribe to the channel. And also next time, I will see you guys in space.